Both of these teams I think, are going to try to be playing keep away, and ball control and time of possession is going to be a huge thing. I mean, Georgia saw what Ryan Williams did to them last year, and they saw how much they struggled with defending the ball in the air last week. Like, you're not going to want number 2 to have that many chances to burn you. And really the only way that you do that is by taking care of the ball and then stopping the run on Alabama so that they have to live in 3rd and long. And it's just easier for you to defend that way because, like, if they're in position where Alabama starts running the ball and then all it takes is one play action shot and Ryan Williams is 40 yards down the field, like, I think that's when you lose the game. You know, if Alabama's just sitting back, chilling in the pocket all day, like I said, that's where I could see this one getting away from them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know if I see a scenario of Georgia like truly getting blown out by this Alabama team.
Oh no, that's not what I meant.
But yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so it's interesting. You kind of wrote a couple questions before we started. I think we kind of answered the biggest concerns we both had, but like, what do you think is the most clear advantage that Georgia has in this game?
The most clear advantage I think that Georgia has. Oof, that's a tough one because I really think this is a pretty even matchup. I think these teams are both built pretty similar, and I thought I had an answer for this going into this, but now I'm kind of thinking about it again. It's like, I guess it would have to come running the ball. I know that we've said that Alabama's got a great defensive front, and they do, but I guess it remains to be seen if Tim Keenan is really fully healthy or not, you know, if they're trying to rush him back for this game or not. I could see Georgia having a pretty good day running the ball in this one. So I guess that would be my answer because I can't say the secondary because they've got Ryan Williams, and Georgia's secondary is coming off a bad game. I can't say quarterback because I kind of viewed Simpson and Stockton on similar levels, at least right now. I certainly can't say Georgia's defensive line versus Alabama's offensive line. I kind of said the opposite. So I guess I'm saying that both teams have an advantage over each other in the trenches because I think they both when each team has the ball because I think that's kind of both how they want to be built anyway. You know?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there because I was struggling a little bit. I guess as much as much higher we are on Georgia than we were a couple weeks ago, and probably I would say we're significantly higher on Georgia than we were the day before the season started. Maybe not significantly. We're higher on Georgia right now than the day the season started, and I would say people are significantly lower on Alabama than the day before the season started. And I'm still struggling of like, yeah, but Georgia's clearly better than Alabama at this. Like, I still don't really know. Mm-hmm. I probably have to go back to what I think is the strength of this Georgia team, which is this linebacker group. And yeah, maybe we worry about getting pressure on Alabama, but this team had 29 carries for 87 yards against Florida State. The only game that matters is my book, as you can tell. That's the only game I've read for.
The only game they played.
Wisconsin is terrible. I'm sorry.
Hey, they've got a decent defense, but yeah, they are pretty. Wisconsin, they look pretty. Ugh.
That's probably fair, but you just look at so many of the teams that have given Kirby Smart problems, specifically Alabama teams. Whether it's Tua, whether it's Jalen Hurts, whether it's Bryce Young, it's usually a guy, Jalen Milroe. It's usually a guy who can run. And if Bryce Young or if Ty Simpson, like I said, more athletic than I kind of thought, but he's not going to be a legitimate run threat in this game. And so if Georgia's able to slow down their traditional run game, there's a scenario where Ty Simpson has to beat Georgia with his arm, and he does. You know, like that could happen. Mm-hmm. But I think if Georgia, you've just seen when Kirby Smart and Georgia's defense is at its best, it's making teams one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And I think Georgia being able to take away the run game has got to be maybe it's hoping and projecting more than saying it's a clear advantage. But I think that's where I would bet on Georgia is slowing down this run game.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I honestly might even change my answer to that too, just because Alabama was gashing Georgia on the ground for a good portion of the beginning of last year's game, but it was really all on like quarterback runs. Like Milroe was really doing everything. I mean, I don't know how many rushing yards Jam Miller had in that game, but I feel like it was not a crazy amount. I don't remember Alabama's traditional run game really having much success against Georgia, especially in the second half when Georgia made those adjustments. So I could see that. I could really see, like, because that's what I was saying. Like, if Georgia's best chance to get stopped on defense consistently, and this goes for, I guess, every football game ever, but really in this game, when you look at Alabama's offensive situation and the playmakers they've got on the outside, it's like you got to force these guys to live in third and long. And really, the way to do that, if you can't rush the passer, is to stop the run. So that's where I think Georgia's really going to have success in this game if they want to win.
For sure. And you look at last year, they gave up 177 on the ground. 117 of that was Jalen Milroe. And Jam Miller, you said, is supposed to be back for this game.
Yes.
So that could
Laura said that him and Keenan are both coming back.
So that's obviously big. He only had 5 for 8 in this game last year. Bernard, but Justice Haynes had 6 for 35, and Jeremy Bernard had 2 for 18. So
they do
which, granted, that's 6 yards a carry, 9 yards a carry for those two guys on Haynes and Bernard on just 8 carries. So, but you had that element of, is Jalen Miller going to keep the ball?
Yeah.
And so when he doesn't keep it, then those running backs are running through bigger lanes. So I think that could be a real X factor in this game, just if Georgia's able to make them one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be, man. I think that's how you win these types of games, is you just, especially when you're at home, the biggest thing that you got to do is just keep the other team uncomfortable at all times. And what's the way to do that is just force them to have a 3rd and 8, on almost every set of downs. I know that's what every coach wants to do anyway, but these are the kinds of games you really want to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the folks out there, we are not going to make our score predictions on today's show. We are getting together on Wednesday night live, I believe 8 o'clock Eastern. I don't know if we've confirmed that, but something 8 o'clock-ish Eastern with the Alabama Voice of College Football guys. Really just hash it out. If we can't win on the field, we're going to win on the YouTube channel. That's for sure. You can count on that. So get our live score or get our score predictions there. But if Georgia loses this game, Bo, why did it happen?
I think it will be the same reasons they almost lost to Tennessee. I think it's going to be, Ryan Williams has burned this team before. Went for like 170 last year, had 2 of the craziest plays I've ever seen. I think it's really, if I envision Georgia losing, I think it's because Ty Simpson has, 4 seconds to throw the ball on any given play. Ryan Williams is getting deep. He's cooking the corners. Georgia gets desperate, starts blitzing, starts giving Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard even more one-on-one opportunities, and then all of a sudden Georgia's having to play from behind, which you just never want to do in any situation. So I think that's how I'd see it going.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think, losing those one-on-one matchups is definitely one of the bigger concerns I have out wide. I didn't go back. I should go all the way back further on this. My biggest thing is the turnovers. Like if Gunnar Stockton, and maybe that's a cop-out because you lose the turnover battle, it greatly increases your chances of losing a game. But last year, Carson Beck, one of his worst games, probably one of his worst quarters. It's hard to call it one of his worst games because in the second half he was absolutely dealing. But one of the worst quarters of his football career.
Dude, he was looking like Fatone Bauda out there for a second.
Nice name drop right there. I think he did throw 3 or 4 picks in that one start he had. It was 3. Yeah. Georgia turned it over 4 times to once for Alabama in the game last year, and you lose 41-34. Like that team, Georgia turns over 3 times in that game. They probably win. Turn it over 2, they might win by multiple scores, but they turned it over 4 times and you end up losing. I think you look at I don't have, like I said, I don't have the stats in front of me. The 2023, the SEC championship game, I know they had that fumble on the little reverse to Dylan Bell late in the game. Was that the only turnover? Did Beck throw a pick in that game?
I think that was the only turnover. I'd have to.
But if I remember correct, I don't think Alabama turned it over in that game. The SEC the national championship that Georgia won. You had the pick by Ringo. You had the
Chris Smith too.
Oh yeah, the pick by Chris Smith, the second or third play of the game where Jordan Davis gets the sack that they overturn the pick.
No, I was
the
so mad
fumble.
about that.
Oh, dude, that was. I'm still not convinced that was an incomplete pass, to be honest. But especially after they call the one on Stetson.
Yeah, dude, I was pissed. I was like, they're robbing.
It felt like a vintage Alabama Georgia game. Oh, this is where it all happens. This is where the meltdown begins. But yeah, that game that they actually won forced multiple turnovers. I think that's what it's going to take. Even the SEC championship, the one with where Jalen Hurts came in after Tua got hurt. It's like you had Richard LeCount and J.R. Reed both got a pick in that game. It's like you just have to make those plays. You got to get the havoc plays on defense. You're gonna have to get some sacks, get some turnovers, and I think if that's the case, I think that's how Georgia wins this game. So I guess what I'm saying is Georgia loses the turnover battle. I think that's the easiest way for Georgia to lose this game. And we also haven't seen, like, as much as Gunner has struggled in this in those first two games. It's hard to say he struggled, but didn't look great in those first two games. The offense struggled for sure in those first two games. They weren't even turning the ball over. Oh shoot, they did turn it over, didn't they? Frazier had the fumble and Humphrey had the fumble. Yeah, in that second game. So yeah, there you go. You got 2 turnovers. You don't even blow out Austin Peay as bad as you should because you're turning the ball over. So I think that's my biggest key is Georgia's got to win the turnover battle.
Got to take care of the football.
And then if Georgia wins, sir, why did Georgia win this game?
I think it'll be because, like I said, Alabama can't run the ball at all. They're living in 3rd and longs, which just isn't a sustainable formula for any offense. Just ask the Houston Texans. And then Gunner Stockton and that offense continues to hum. It'd be a good day on the ground from Frazier and company, and Stockton hitting his play action stuff on top of that. Maybe he pulls the ball for a couple runs of his own. I think that's what you kind of need. You just need a really consistent offensive performance, and you don't need to necessarily get a ton of turnovers on defense if you can just stop the run and stop the big plays. But if you're not getting burned by explosives and you're stopping the run, I feel pretty good about Georgia's prospects on defense in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like winning the turnover battle almost seems like the way to guarantee a Georgia victory. It feels like we've seen a lot of Georgia games with Kirby Smart where they're playing kind of, for lack of a better term, like boring defense. It's just like that Tennessee game a couple years ago in Knoxville. It's just like every 3rd and 5, it's just an incomplete pass, and then they're off the field again. It's just that's also fun. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think if Gunner Stockton is making plays and like if Georgia scores like 30, 35 points in this game, which I guess that's what it's taken to beat Alabama,